that's the fault. So here's the deal. Don't call. You messed that was on my end. That was on my end. Y'all, please, no phone calls. Cause then I have to make an adjustment and all this other stuff, man. Y'all tripping. But
The
anyway,
show
bro,
must go on.
the
The
show.
show
Listen.
must go on.
So let's start from the top. Let's start from the
Yeah,
top.
start from the top. Let's start from the top. We need to do a wrist check too, so maybe we needed to
Oh,
reset. Maybe we needed to.
let's
You see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you go first, bro. You go first. What you got on the wrist?
Oh man, because you know I gotta do the double wrist thing, man. So I have the Timex, I have the Q Timex on here, and then I have the Brewski. And what's nice about the
Broski.
Brewski is this is what I did with it. Check this out. Put the Expando on there. Yes,
Ooh.
sir. Making it real
Okay.
classic. Brew metric. I had to
Okay.
get it. Had to get it. Made it real classic like.
Ooh. Okay, man. I ain't got nothing but this, like, you know what I'm saying, little Heritage 1938 piece, you know what I'm saying? Like, had
Fire.
to keep something light, something light.
Fire.
Um, and then we'll, because I'm going to actually talk about this and some other watches. Y'all know I got a bunch of watches next to me. So, bro, what's going on? Everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being so patient, man. You guys are rock stars. I have with me Skylar Santana, one of the upcoming professionals on YouTube, one of the channels that, and I don't have to blow smoke up his nose. Your channel gives a lot of value, right?
Thank you, sir.
And I'll say you, and there are a plethora of channels that breathe like horology life into the nostrils of people that can, what I'm saying, as far as affordability and just process lifestyle, the whole, like you like the complete package as you grow. And your channel is growing like crazy, bro. Your associations with people, man, second to none. And
Appreciate
just shameless plug. There's a guy, his name is Phil. He's across the pond over in the UK. Ordinary watch guy, right? He dropped a video yesterday that his knowledge is crazy. It's just like yours, bro. But this guy, he's talking about like horology pieces, giving you like a history as to why you may want to choose that.
you.
Now, let's jump back to Rolex because Rolex is another brand that, as far as horology is concerned, in history has a ton of it. It's rich with it. It's flooded. But how
Yeah.
can you compare? How can you compete with Rolex when it comes to its history? No, hold up. The marketing. How can you
Mm,
compare, Rolex marketing and now I have handled a number of Rolex. I've even owned a Rolex myself. And in
mm,
comparison to like a lesser brand, just it's an automatic there's going to be more a better finishing, there's going to be better tooling and things of that nature, man. The move is gonna be better, man. Longevity, but the brand name, bro, it wears the crown for a reason. Is there
100%.
a reason? Is there a reason to compare watches to that? I don't know, man. Maybe I'm tripping.
I know. I think it's a good reference, man. When you talk about Rolex, obviously they have the history. They know what they're doing with marketing since almost day one. You know, that's been their bread and butter. They spend a lot of money in advertising for that reason. And when you talk about, okay, so if you watch like some of the people on YouTube that do the actual servicing for Rolex, that's where I
Mhm.
really got to see where it is shining the most. I think that when you uncover the insides of a watch from Rolex, and you understand, because I've taken a movement apart and I've reassembled it, right? Because I've wanted to play around with servicing watches. And when you see those parts literally just fall into place for you, almost doing the servicing for you, is where you see the manufacturing, where you see the actual experience. So it's not just about the advertisement, it's not just about the prestige, right? Because of course you want to get a Rolex when you get a milestone, right? That's the thing,
Right.
or a
Right.
success piece, right? But it's so much more than that, and that's why I've always given respect to Rolex and any other big brand that is doing something similar because they deserve their flowers. And I think that you bring up a very good point. It's a good reference to have. I think from that point, whether we're talking about the web-based brands or whether we're talking about the independent brands, we can put them up against it to see where they lie. But again, everybody has different values, and some people are going to bring it a lot closer, and some people
Mhm.
aren't, and that's respectable. We all have to have different perspectives at the end of the day. That's what makes this fun.
And you know what? So let me get to this.
Hmm.
DK says Rolex is too easy. It takes away the fun from watch collecting. Part of the fun is finding something cheap that offers maximum intrinsic benefits that transcends the price tag. Ooh.
point in case, right? So DK is looking at it in a perspective of value out of his pieces, with also the respect of how much money he's saving, right? So that's a perfect comment to read first, because therein lies the comparison in what he values out of his timepieces to put up against Rolex. So therefore, he may not value paying for the commercialization of Rolex itself.
Okay, well, I have an example of a watch right here. It's the
Mm,
Laurier, right? Neptune. This is the four, right? Now, this thing is vintage, man, because you have an acrylic crystal, which, dude, I put this in water. The
mm,
magnification in it was ridiculous, man. It's a comfortable wear, and I was looking at all of the people that are singing the praises of Rolex, which they deserve to be put like there on the pedestal. Again, I will say this: this is no hate, no shade towards Rolex. I owned one at one point,
right.
and I think, like you mentioned something, Rolex is a has been used for wedding gifts, has been used for like when you hit those milestones, you get
Mm,
promoted. I know Ford Motor Company. Once you hit, it's either 25 or 30 years with the company, they were getting Rolexes. Um, Domino's Pizza had one. Was weird.
yeah.
Had the little
Yeah.
Domino's Pizza on there, but like,
I saw that.
yeah, bro. But you know what? That still think like what I'm saying. Like that is the ultimate grail. That's the ultimate. As far as social status, right?
Hmm.
Because you look at a Rolex. If you, for those that recognize a Rolex, the first thing people think is like, hey, you're accomplished. I mean, and you think about this: Martin Luther King wore a Timex at first, but
Hmm.
he was either gifted. I don't know how the story goes. He was either gifted by his constituents or Rolex gave it to him themselves as a company. But he wore this watch, and then there were more and more people like gravitating to like, okay, so he's a very smart man, intelligent, but now
Hmm.
he owns a Rolex. So he's a part of a club, or he is establishing history of owning something that, dude, is bigger than Disney. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like Rolex. But when it comes down to content creation
Hmm.
and talking to your audience, right? Because
Yeah.
I can look at your content, but I'm one that lives in the comment section. I look at what the people, because like Skylar, you can put something out all day, right? And I'm like, okay, that
Yeah.
was cool. Let me look at what the people are talking about, and you see how people feel about a topic. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And there were so many people across multiple channels that are singing the praises of Rolex. And yes, it's better than Seiko. Yes, it's better than this brand. Yes, it's definitely better than your homage
Hmm.
pieces. Mister, you created that. But I would just wanted to get perspective from you guys, because it's a topic that had me fired up this morning. I was looking, I was like, oh, really? We talking Rolex? I was like, and then I brought out pieces like Aragon, right? There
Hmm.
is a sense of DNA, Rolex DNA, in so many watches, bro. I don't
Yeah.
care
Yeah.
how you cut it. There's a sense, a little hint of
Hmm.
Rolex. You can find it. You can find it, right? Even
Yeah.
though um, we were talking about Matthew Tissot the other day, and I gave Matthew Tissot a shot like 3 years ago, failed miserably, and I was so mad at the brand. But then as I dug into the history of Matthew Tissot, they actually made a watch for Elvis Presley, right?
Mm.
And like they were a powerhouse, and they have history. But like you look at a lot of their current brands,
Mm.
a lot of their dive watches were homage to Squale, and I'm like, why? Why do you feel the need to do that? And you're older. You're much older than this brand. That
Mm.
makes no sense, man. It's almost like the fact, like you got somebody that's old school, right? And they're used to wearing their 2-piece, 3-piece suits and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now they're wearing jumpsuits, or they put the little mask on like the little young people do now. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why are you accepting their trend, bro? Like, stop it. You look crazy. That's how I look at it, man. Let me get into the chat. Let me see what the chat's talking about. I love Rolex Air Kings. I have one that was a win Dixie truck driver. Really? Now that's
Mm.
interesting. Oh, somebody got a Farrah on. Ben 10 has his Farrah on. Rolex caliber 3130 is a workhorse. Rolex has exceptional engineering management. Yep. I read that one. Specialty automatic. Okay, people doing a wrist check as well in the chat. Rolex is known worldwide. If you are stuck anywhere, you have a Rolex, you can get home. I tell you what, you can get home with your Casio too. Your G Shock. I much
True.
rather have that because I don't know what type of if I'm stuck somewhere else, I might have to battle to get home. I don't know. Rolex is like trophies, especially in the black community. MLK Jr. knew he was swaggy. Oh my gosh. Said he was swaggy. Oh, I feel you, bro. Hannibal says, oh, hold on, let me see yours, bro. JLC, Patek, Vacheron, AP, Jorn, Elanga, Moser makes considerable better watches. It's no argument
Hmm.
here. No argument here. Um, but again, you know what I'm saying? The marketing is perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like it is. It just is, man. But I don't. I think one like from my perspective, my argument is I don't want somebody to see a Rolex video or content creation because since Watches and Wonders, right?
Hmm.
Bro, a lot of the big boys have been talking about Rolex, bro.
Oh
They've been
yeah.
talking about Rolex. They've been
Yeah.
that's what they've
Yeah,
been
that
on,
new
man. So,
Rolex has been on the tongue of everybody, man, and it's exciting to see Rolex take a little bit of a deep dive into, like we saw the celebration, we saw examples of Rolex expanding and trying to be a little bit more interesting rather than sitting on the stuff that they've already have. And for sure, I mean, integrated bracelets was already out for a while, but to see what they did with the dial that a lot of people didn't necessarily gravitate to so much. However, I think it's still exciting for the bigger brands, not just Rolex, to take a page out of the book of more of the web-based brands and to be more daring. I think that they don't have to play it as safe. I think the market would accept being more venturous with their designs. And it's going to take time, right? Just because you're a big boy doesn't mean that you're totally tapped in or used to being as adventurous with designs, and that's okay. But overall, I see that that's starting to change now a lot, and we saw that with that Rolex that we saw at that event. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that seems to be the next step.
So Howard says, "Hey guys, I don't own. He don't have a Rolex. However, he has five original Chase Doers. Before Invictus started cheapening them, and love these watches. They are my Rolexes. And that, thank you, Howard. You literally pushed me on to what I was coming next to, Skyler. I gotta ask you, bro.
Shoot.
In your experience of watch collecting, right? I know
Hmm.
you have a love for a number of brands, bro.
Hmm.
In comparison, and yes, we're going to compare Rolex at this point. In comparison to Rolex's lore, the history, his prestige, is there a brand that you gravitate or you hold in high esteem right now that you either own or you don't own at this point? And keep in mind, I'm gonna say affordable. Let's keep that criteria affordable. Is there
Okay.
one?
That I would compare to like the Rolex Origin. You're saying?
Yeah, like the whole vibe because you know how like as far as like let's keep in mind let's give you some criteria. Um, prestige.
Hmm.
Uh, I can't say collectability because I mean Rolex is expensive. You know that may be a one and done if you do get to that point. But like just having the overall lore of Rolex, what it
Mm.
means to people. You know, what I'm saying that status. Is
Okay.
there a brand out
Okay.
there that you consider to be like a low end brand, like an affordable brand?
I like that question, dude. And I'm gonna have a cop out answer. You guys know that I'm a big fan of web based brands. I'm gonna take the cop out and say Chris Ward. And I think that's an obvious statement because if Rolex was
Mm,
to start today, I think that any brand at this point would start in that web-based brand, right? Watch
mm,
enthusiast brand, micro brands, whatever you want to call it. I think that if you're starting a brand in anywhere from like let's say 2020 2005 and up, like a 2010 especially, you got some names now that are 10 years old that started in 2015. But the point is this: where we are in the marketing scene and how you push your product out and how you enter into that space is an independent brand. And as we know, Rolex has been that, it has been a nonprofit and everything else. So
yeah.
I think that if Rolex was born today, it
Hmm.
would look a lot like what Christopher Ward is doing. And we've seen that new release. So we know that they're not done yet from the bel canto, now going to the loco. I mean, they're not going to stop. That is something that propelled them into a different space, atmosphere, if you will. And I think that that is the ultimate goal, just to get things, not only your own unique design, not only your own off the shelf. You want to step away from the off the shelf, right? You want to have more uniqueness in your cases and everything else. So now they're playing around with movements, and they're going from modifying, now they're going into stepping towards actually building their own movements, I think. So I think that if I had to compare the two, I would say Christopher Ward. I mean, you've seen the tables, so
Yeah.
their advertisement is phenomenal, and they're utilizing the internet and how any brand, if they were starting today, including Rolex, would. And I think it would look a lot like that. I think that that would be the
Mm.
greatest comparison that I can give right now. What do you think?
Gosh, I can't even argue with you.
It's the cop out, dude.
I,
That was super easy to say, Chris Ward. I'll admit. There are other brands, but I think that it's just like you see just the top level of example from them right now. So I have to just stick to that answer.
Gosh, and here's the deal, bro. Here's the deal. There are a number, like, okay, so I showed Laurier earlier, right? Laurier is the sweet spot, right? And they have a number of options from chronographs to the 300s. They have a course model. They, bro, like, hands down, owning that vintage space, they got it. They got it, but if in comparison to what I've seen, and I'm just basing this off of going to watch events,
Mm,
Christopher Wood would be at the top of my list, right? And I haven't seen like, and I know I'm gonna just throw this out there, Zelos, right?
mm,
And I heard some news about Zelos. We'll talk about this in a different video, but or another live possibly. But Zelos, hands down, puts out about what, one or two watches every other month, right? And some better than others. This one, this last iteration, I think was phenomenal. There were a few reviewers that thought that they could have done better, but you can't argue the price. The price,
yeah.
and then you keep in mind what we're going through right now because I just heard about there's other companies, there's strap companies that are no longer delivering to the U.S. territories because of the tariffs and stuff like that. The prices are going up. There was a video this morning talking about Rolex. More and more of their watches are sitting on the shelves because people are kind of holding their hands,
Mm,
right?
mm,
But this is giving people an opportunity. Actually, I think some of the lesser brands have an opportunity to shine at this point that are still delivering. But like, who compares? Like Formex, maybe. Formex is another company I think
Formex
that
is another name.
I mean,
Oh
hits
yeah.
home. And for the rest of them, right? I'm gonna tell you a company that I just think is so underrated, and I've shown this because I only have one, but um, Swiss watch company, and this may not be
Mm,
like a model that you guys gravitate towards, but they do offer like the field versions and stuff like that. And the one thing that just amazes me about this company is the fact that what's it? The dad's name Steven.
mm,
He he did QC for Omega. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
And this watch group, like he's still active, right? And it's like one of those things where if you had your car, right, and you know a master mechanic comes in, you want that mechanic to work on your car because you know that thing is going to be done well. However, Swiss Watch Company is not mentioned. Like Random Rob mentioned his because he has a collaboration with him. But outside of
mm,
that, you don't hear anything about the watch. And if you look at the specs, how it's built, how it feels on the wrist,
mm.
I would dare to say that that thing can stand in line with some big expensive brands. And hey, I down that hill. I have it. I own it.
Yeah.
Dead serious,
Yeah.
bro. You know what I'm saying? So like, as far as the way this watch is built, but is if we're talking collegiate levels, in NFL draft levels,
Hmm.
we're not gonna get into NFL drafts. That's a whole topic in itself. But I don't think there's too many watch companies that will compare. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna say based on what we see on YouTube. Let's just say that because
Okay.
YouTube um marketing is different
Hmm.
than Google's. It's so much different because if you go to Google and look up like what's the most popular, Rolex is gonna always be in there, but it varies
Yeah.
between watches. Oh, it varies so much. And what Google is saying is completely different to what we're seeing right here on YouTube.
Yeah, and,
Uh,
and and I think that here's the deal. And I've seen this said, and I know you guys watching have seen this said multiple times from independent brands or web-based brands. Understand that a lot of the materials that are being manufactured for these brands are coming out of the same factories. Now, they're not brave enough to mention which brands are the ones that are coming out of the same factories, but I think that if we brought down the veil and we really got a good look inside, we would be shocked to see a lot of similarities talking about coming out of the same manufacturing, right? Having the same level of finishing. And I've seen a lot of brand owners mention that, but it's kind of like a hush hush thing. They don't go all the way in. They don't give us all the details. It's a slippery slope to mention exactly which brand is coming out of the same factory, right? But at the end of the
right.
day, the manufacturing is there, bro, and for sure, like depending on how you value it, you can get a lot for what you're paying for. So that's just now here's the deal, and I want to let you know, the way that I'm collecting right now, I've
Hmm.
kind of shifted gears, and I wanted to announce this on your live. So you've asked me in the past, like, what's the next step? How are you collecting? What's the next move? I mentioned that I had a few
Hmm.
watches, so I wanted to, chill out. But I'll tell you what, man, I've now shifted my mindset to go after brands that are in my backyard. So you brought up
Mm.
Laurier. I have a brew on my watch, my wrist. I
Right,
think
right.
that moving forward, I want to represent, or I want to at least support the brands that are out of New York. I'm reached out to them. I'm going to be buying watches because we also mentioned tariffs and how our watch brands are going to be possibly affected. They already are. So I think it's important for me right now to want to support the teams that I like the most, and therefore my purchasing has been set on the guys that are in my backyard. And
Mm.
people watching this are from all over, so I encourage you, support the brands that are in your backyard that are putting so much passion into their watches. If you already are interested to some degree for it, and there's a whole lot. He's getting ready. You see, Travis is already getting ready. I think that's really, really important, man. And you were already on that
Hey.
wave, but now I'm going heavy on it, and that's the reason why my next watch was a brew. They're out of New York. Laurier's out of New York. Stella, I'm
Mm.
now looking at Stella. Um,
Yes.
they listen. I've seen them at shows so many times, bro. But it's one of those things that just kept going over my head. But since I've really set my targets to, okay, who's making watches in my backyard? We have Long Island Watch. We have Laurier. We have Stella, like I mentioned. We have Brew. So all of those names also tied into the content that I'm producing. Oh yeah, I'm going to be reaching out to the people in my backyard because I want to support the brands in hard times, especially whether I'm buying their watch or I'm borrowing it and presenting it on my channel itself.
Okay. All right, bro. Listen, listen. So last night I was going through. Let me show you guys some stuff. Right. You mentioned Long Island, right? This
Yes, sir.
watch right here, bro. Like hands
Mm-hmm.
down, it has an NH34 in it, and that's fine, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
build quality in the way this watch feels, how it looks, the loom, everything about this watch for me is perfect, right? And I was thinking about this watching shows and just listening to what you and I mean, a plethora of YouTubers are talking about. But I'm focusing on not just what's in your backyard because I have a Fair Swit, which is Chicago. All right, I
Mm.
have Flederman, which is here in Indiana. Visitor, which I'm talking about Visitor hands down, and I know he got some stuff coming up. Phil got something coming up, bro, and I
Mm.
I can't wait for him to drop his news. Oh, bro, I'm going, man. I'm over the moon with this one. But yes, I am big into supporting local brands, but across the pond, I'm gonna tell you this. Um, a watch brand that I firmly believe in. This one,
Mm-hmm.
Nomadic.
Nomadic,
I
yeah.
am a fan of this, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and I had wrote this down. I was just going back over the history of this. This inspired shipyards in Belfast and it's almost like it has no connection to the Titanic besides what they infused into this watch. But
Right.
that's like inadvertently the Titanic is co-signing for this company because bro, they just opened. Peter just posted on Instagram either yesterday or the day before yesterday the store that they got that's supposed to be opening up soon, pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Them tearing up the floor and it's starting to become a place where people can come in and shop their
Mm,
watches, their brand, and the people of Belfast are standing behind them wholeheartedly. They're going to every event. Like what's that? The Toronto Timepiece show is
mm,
going on
mm.
right now. And I was looking at Vincianico was there, right? Which
Okay.
again, another I consider them an iconic brand.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying, and I know some people don't like Vincianico. That's fine,
Right.
but you can't deny their presence. You can't deny how they are appealing to the masses. And I want to focus more on, and I'm telling you going forward. And I actually, I was talking to Tyree from Wrist Unwound.
Hmm.
I want to focus more on the lifestyle of the watches that you can possibly get, and those that are affordable. Why? I mean, and listen, I'm not telling you not to go reach for the stars or like go grab your Longines or and like when you think about investments and stuff like that,
Right.
that's always lost on me. And I'm not knocking
Hmm.
anybody in the chat. If you buy watches for investment, I am not here to knock you for that. That just it's just lost on me
Hmm.
because, bro, you know how fun it would be to get into a sports car, put on a pair of like driving gloves, and just roll out with this with that power reserve, bro. Which I got to
Right.
wind it up because my power reserve is getting low. I hate to see this thing stop. You feel me?
I hear
Um,
you.
but I'm just I don't know, bro. Like that's the number one thing, man. And I'm gonna show you a watch that I just got. I'll do a separate video on it. But after looking at this watch, which is a homage to one of my favorite brands, you guys know
Hmm.
what I'm about to say. Um, I am going to. That's my promise to YouTube and to anybody that's watching. If you are more mainstream, if you are more into the luxury, the horology, I'll talk about it. Have no problem. We can have a discussion all day. But I just want to focus on those brands that you can obtain just like that, and
Hmm.
those that fit your lifestyle. Think about
Yeah.
it, like bro, you know what you do every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. And I think talking about, and we talked off camera about this. It's so funny how we are on the same wavelength all the time, almost it seems. And that's something that you saw also from my last video, right? Like I didn't talk so much about every waking detail, right, on the watch.
hmm
I talked about more of my feel. I think introducing your lifestyle to the watch is relevant. I think that what connects to everybody's watch and why they purchased the watch, and it's connecting to a deeper level when it comes to making your decision on buying the watch. Now, I mentioned me focusing on people in my backyard in New York, but of course, I'm expanding that to the U.S. and then overseas. There's phenomenal watches like you brought up Zelos, and they make fantastic value watches. There's no argument, man. Once I finally got a Zelos in my hand, I was really shocked of how well rounded it was, but also it had the design, right? Because a lot of web brands have either or. They're trying to find their footing and they'll focus on design, but they won't check off all the boxes on the specifications, or vice versa. So Zealous is a good example of having both, and I have no problem, of course, supporting that, and they make exciting things. But yeah, man, I'm just expanding it all over the U.S. because you have Jack Mason. I mean, we could go on, but my point is that, man, like we're going through some tough times, and the
Yep.
best thing to do right now is to support those brands and then attaching a lifestyle to it, bro. That's exciting, and I think we need to dig deeper into that for sure because that's your stick. That's what you do. You've been doing that since day one. Lifestyle and watches
Bro,
and community and the people, man. You've always had that gumbo soup. So I
bro,
love that. That's what you want to set your sights on now, bro.
bro, and that's so, man. I've been geeked off a lot of content, man. I've just been watching so many people's content, and I don't agree with everything that people say, but like you do have to come into YouTube with an open eye and
Mhm.
just considering, okay, all right, I get where you're coming from, and I understand that, but I was looking at and I want to get into this watch. I saw who was it? Teddy just dropped a video and he was talking about underrated watches, right? And he mentioned this one, right? This is one
Mhm.
that kind of flew under the radar. And here's the thing. It was like I dropped this video on this watch last year. I was
Okay.
excited to get it because I had researched the watch and I researched it so much to where this watch originally came out during one of the worst times in American history, the Great Depression. right? Not knowing, fast forwarded, that we are literally on the cusp of going back into a depression, depending on how we go. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the
Yeah.
decisions that's being made. And I asked myself, which could be a whole different show, what watch company do you think that will survive
Hmm.
during you know what I'm saying, another wave, another attack financially on America? And
Right.
this one is huge. It's so much bigger because this is going to affect people worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't just America. And you got to think too, I was reading an article about Tissot back in during the 30s, 1930s. They were still thriving. People were still buying watches,
Oh yeah.
and they it was one of the comments I read, or articles I read, was saying that Tissot depended on places like Chicago, my hometown.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Created in 1837. For those that want to know that information,
Mm.
um, yeah, just want to put that out there. But anyway, like it's crazy how a company just depending solely on the American market, and then you look at right now how many companies are depending on the American market
Hmm.
for, like, so they can feed their children, or supply their lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
And like nobody gets in business just to fail. That's
Right.
that's the
Of
thing,
course.
and we're in an era now where you know how accessible watches are
Very.
and how diverse it is. And let me just I'm gonna just look. I showed the Nomadic, right? And people from Belfast, people from America, people from Australia, people love this watch. But then you
Hmm.
have the Aragon fans, right? People love Aragon. But then you want
Hmm.
to get over like some historical history, like the oldest branded company in the world, Longines. And then that right there, Mill 40.
Hmm.
It's not a Panerai, but doggone it, the Kate. Look at that right there. And dare I
That's the
say,
movement. That's the movement that I actually practice with because all of the pieces on that are larger. So
uh
that's
huh,
a beautiful movement, and that's actually the one that I practice putting together and taking apart and putting back together again, man. It's beautiful.
bro. And dare I say that this is more decorated than some actual Panerais that's out there.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
just saying. I know Panarisis don't come from me, but if you do, I like Panerai. Y'all know I love Panerai. That's like my. But I had to get it, and I have seen a number of homage pieces to the Panerai, and
Right.
this one by far. Oh my gosh! The only weird thing about it is like it's a manual wind and screw down crown. I don't like that, but
Yeah.
it's it's okay. It's okay. It's quirky. I'm like, because I just want to wind it. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
know.
why? You,
I know.
like,
I,
bro,
I
don't
was
do
just
that
watching the
to me.
videos. Somebody had mentioned that, man. Like a manual wind on a screw down crown, it's like you got to be experienced. You got to know what you're doing. You can't wind it all the way and then screw it down. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing.
bro. Look, and I've counted the wines, right? I counted them up to where I felt the tension, and I let it go. I didn't screw it back down. I said, I'm gonna let a couple of hours go by, bro. I was not, and no sir, no
Yeah, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
sir. I
Ben
said,
10
no,
Ben
man.
10 says something. I'm afraid of micro brands because they are creative and affordable. That it's hard to have discipline when buying.
Discipline. Yep.
Before you know it, you'll have 50 micro brands. Spend a couple thousand. Yeah. I mean, look, that's a good bad thing, and related to what you just said, and the times we're stepping in, man. Like, it's nice to know that we could still fuel the beast with some affordable, outlets in a harder time. And I think that they're gonna shine a little bit more. When you can't spend 10K, but you can spend 400, it's a big difference. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
that's important also to have. Because listen, dude, I don't care how hard, unless it gets really, really bad people buying watches. Okay, people buying watches,
Yep.
right? It could be $100 watch, it could be a $50 watch, it could be a 400, whatever. But I don't think that people are going to stop buying. They may slow down, but it's hard to just cut off altogether.
Yeah, because we're accustomed to that, bro, and we are a branded
Lifestyle.
people. We love brands, bro. Trap
Yeah.
knows it, man. Vic, they clowned me in the chat. But think about this, bro. Think about this. When it comes to what we enjoy, right? And that one of my biggest concerns or worries actually was what happens to those channels that are solely affordable AliExpress, because you do know
Mm,
that there will be some companies that won't deliver to America if it because it's not, people are not going to spend their money. Like, I wouldn't trust that if I had. let's say 1,000 customers per hour buying from AliExpress, and then I post on the website or everybody, it's news. Okay, sorry y'all, but tariffs is going to cost us so this much money. We can't swallow all of that. So what we're going to do, your $125 watch that you wanted is now going to cost you 275 or $300. Just throwing numbers out there, right?
Got you.
Um, I don't think there's enough dedication to that because as consumers, we always look for the best options at the best
Mhm.
price according to our pocketbook. Because let's keep this in mind. I can get on the watch hangout, right? And I love the watches that they present when they're talking about their watches. And
Mhm.
they're showing Rolexes, they're showing stuff. I'm a part of their group, right? And I see the watches that the people are wearing. But if you are able to afford that, cool. If you were working up to that, now the the
Mhm.
um the goal line has been moved back, and
Right.
you're like, why am I still running towards this goal, which it keeps pushing back? And not only is the price of the watch expensive, now the shipping is expensive, and then I have to
Mhm.
wait an additional 8 days to get my watch.
Right.
Absolutely not. So it's not that like you priced out, you exhausted with the foolishness. So you start looking at other brands that's local. Like I imagine that Timex will get a little bit more love now. Yeah. Hey, Timex is comparable to or has been compared to Rolex, as
Mhm.
far as design and stuff like that. But I'm like, but it's not. It's the quality of a Timex cannot compare to a Rolex.
Oh no. Of course
But
not.
it can definitely fill a void because for some people, keep in mind, some people, their grandfathers, their dad, or whoever wore a Timex and they want to be just like them. So they buy their Timex.
Mhm.
It's man, as far as heritage is concerned.
Oh yeah.
Also, bro, think about it. If you work, depending on what field you work in, if you're working in warehouse and your watch can possibly get damaged, what I'm saying? I can see people wearing G Shocks or, like a lesser brand, a Casio or a Timex or something like that.
Mhm.
So it makes no sense to buy an expensive brand. Even if you work 5 6 days a week and that's your lifestyle, you only have so much or so much time to yourself.
Right.
What are you buying? Like, what I'm saying? Like, would you invest in a $15,000 watch if you're only going to wear that watch 6 times out the year?
Right.
I'm just asking, or you like, because I know people keep their watches, their more expensive pieces in safety deposit boxes, right?
Mhm.
I looked in the comment sections be going crazy, man. Like YouTube, the comment sections on social media are undefeated because people tell you how they feel. Some people call you an idiot, stupid, why you spend that money. Watches are being worn, supposed to be worn, not held on to. And then other people like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yo, that's a good deal. So it's 50-50. I'm just like I said, I live in the comment section. I
Mhm.
dig what's going on. We're gonna get into the chat because I see a lot of stuff. I don't want to miss out on anybody.
Yeah. No problem.
Let's see. I've slowed down considerably, but won't stop. That's Megazoid. More discretion these days. Hey, that's a lot of us. Trap should get a sponsor from Denny's. He's always advertising. Yo, Denny's, bro, you been? Hey, what's happening? I'm here all the time. You know what I'm saying? If anybody come to Denny's and they eating because I'm here, I mean,
Just
I'll be
saying.
just saying, bro. You know what I'm saying? Give me a super slam for free. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to put no cash in my pocket. Just put some food in my belly. Right. What's going on? Just showing what's the topic of today. We're talking about Rolex versus the world, pretty much. Are we?
Yeah.
It's for real. Like, is it a fair comparison? Is it? It's not. I don't. I'm just gonna say personally, it's not fair when you're trying to encourage somebody to buy their next watch.
Right.
It is fair when you're showing, like, okay, even though this watch does not have all of the technology that a Rolex has, is great. It
Mhm.
has the look, and for what it's worth, it is sort of comparable, man. It'll give you that feel good. Like, for example, I felt like $1 million when I got this. Now, there's some things about this watch, these long jeans, that irritates me. I'll be
Mhm.
honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I think the bezel action should be better. It should be coined all the way around instead of just like having slick spots. And then the crown should not have that sharp edge on it, man. Like, I hate that. Those
Right.
two, and then the third thing that I thought was like ridiculous, bro. That right there, I absolutely hate that. That extension I was right,
He
bro.
said, I absolutely hate that. Yo, and I'll be honest with you, dude. A lot of people resonate with that diver extension or having that on the fly. And I'll tell you what, man. Shout out to my man John Lively, Mark Well, because he put me onto these stretchy bands. And he was doing a live, dude, and he was saying something like people come up to the table and they tell me, well, I don't purchase a watch without it having the adjustable on the clasp. And he was like, this was out for a long time, man. If that's the
Yeah,
case and that matters so much to you, go with a stretchy band. Your arm expands, no problem. You know what I mean? So it's funny how it's so
yeah.
versatile. Which way we could take this, dude? It's so versatile where we could take this, and I know a lot of people value different. I respect everybody's value at the end of the day. We're using Rolex as a subject matter, but at the end of the day, some people mention some brands, luxury brands that do even better movements, right? But now Rolex is more so on the price point, right? 10 grand versus 50 grand in barrier of entry is a little different, right? So
Hmm.
it just comes down to it, dude. I hate to circle back to it, but it just comes down. But here's the thing, and I'm going to say something controversial. I go on some other live segments, and I don't want to mention who. I don't want to start drama, but there's some people
Right,
that
right.
will straight up call micro brands trash watches.
Oh
Period.
yeah,
They just say,
yeah, yeah.
those are garbage watches. This, that, and I'm like, are they though? I'm like, what perspective? Okay, so like, are you just valuing like heritage? Are you just what are we coming as far as context goes? Because you and I both know we've had watches for years. We know what goes inside those movements, whether it's a
Hmm.
Seiko movement, whether it's Japanese, whether it's Miyota, it doesn't matter. You know, it could be an SW200. But my thing is this: it's like, what makes that watch trash? Like, I don't. That's the part where it's a little lost on me, and it's just not nice. It's not nice because some people out there, that's all they collect, right? Or if you just collect G Shocks, that's your thing, dude. I never go that far to say a watch is a watch. If you got one on, you're in the club. And
Hmm.
for sure, these micro brands or these web-based brands, they hold up, dude. And I know you put yours through the ringer. I know
Oh yeah.
people who are super active, dude. They beat the crap out of their watches,
Hmm.
and they hold up for sure. The technology for manufacturing now is undeniable. So I don't know, man. How do you feel about somebody who comes along and says micro brands or web based whatever, those are trash? How do you feel about that?
I think is showing of ignorance,
Mm,
because on you can't have it both ways. We talk about heritage and history, right? We talk about the watches, man, but we forget about the people that created these watches, man. Like if you go back and look at the historical value of Omega, how that company came up. Paddock, Paddock,
right.
but you know how many issues they had before, man? How many people he went through before the watch became
Yes.
a main thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, and guess what happens? Guess what happens? You, in this day and age, you
Hmm.
praise, these people are praising these watches, but you're not looking at that. You have actual entrepreneurs right now that are creating watches. And then you say off the shelf movement. Okay, if that's the case, stop driving your car today, because guess what? The base of your engine has been in production for ages since that car's been alive. Just about GM has been
Right.
using that 3.8 motor for a long
Right.
time. And then guess what? They made the 3.5, which was trash, 3.6. It's just technology, right?
Yeah.
It's the same basis. So we're
Right.
not celebrating the people that are putting it, man, again. Um,
Thank you.
I bought this watch with my own money. And shout out to the team over there, Nomadic, for giving me the straps and everything that goes along with the swag. But I believed in the watch. I love the design. And this
Yeah.
watch feels amazing. They have a watchmaker for well over 25 years. That's been his craft. And the fact that you can downplay that, the fact that you can open your mouth and say, that's trash, then you don't believe in the dream of like creativity, entrepreneurship, you know what I'm saying, ownership, business. You have discredited all of that.
Right.
You, these people that are saying that, you are so arrogant and so pompous and just so stuck on the brand as if this is your lover. Like,
Hmm.
stop it. And
Yeah.
then you don't think about the people that actually get behind these brands and love these brands, right? I mean, you shouldn't have, like, for example, I love Minutes and Hours. I love going there. I love going to Wind Up. Never been intersect, but the fact that they have a industry that we can go to and see these people and talk to them,
Hmm.
you couldn't do that. Okay, since they talk about this, you go and dig up the creators, Mr. Hans. Go dig him up right now. Have a conversation with him, or ask God, can you bring him back so I can talk and praise him? Right? No, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So what I don't understand is talking about these things are trash when like we should be celebrating the fact that
Thank
people
you.
are coming up with these thoughts, man. Think about that young lady. Oh my gosh, Moles. Was it Moles and Co? This
Hmm.
young lady is 25 years old. Started this brand, which she started the idea of the brand coming out of college at the age of 20. By 22, she's starting her own company. Her family's helping her. But this girl is 25 and she has a watch that, and hey, Jody from One More Watch, I will call this out. You said it yourself because you put the video out there. You didn't think that company was gonna make it. And look now. And that's not a shot against him, but that just goes to show.
Right.
Sometimes we can put our foot in our mouths.
Oh
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
dude. I'm so glad that was your response because that leads me into how I want to segue into the watch that's on my wrist. I'm bringing up the brew again because, dude, what you just said is the shining example. This is a quartz watch, and I
Mhm.
understand. I get how people know how much a quartz movement costs, right? So when they look at this watch and they say, "Okay, this watch is almost $500," that's crazy. I will never pay that much for a quartz watch. I understand that, and then some people will say, well, that's trash because it's a quartz watch. Hold on, hold on, hold on. You got to understand that my man Jonathan Ferrer sat at a coffee shop for hours and hours, pencil to paper, drawing
Mm.
this watch up. I mean, this wasn't the first watch, obviously, but the passion, the he went to school as a designer. He worked for Movado. He puts up these pop-up shots in New York. You know how much that costs, right?
Mm.
Goes to wind up, pulls out a big lemonade stand, does the whole coffee kit, gives you free coffee on site. So it's like this, dude. It's like, all right, when do we start to value the passion that's behind the watches? And then when do we value what the brands are doing for our enthusiasm when we go to see them at the shows and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And like I said, there was so much love and passion, bro. Like he literally, so it's like we have to now also appreciate not only the things that I said, but we have to appreciate what goes into the design. Because a lot of people, when you get something generic, oh, that just looks like this. That just okay. So here we go. He gave you something reliable. Now it's a quartz, and I understand. But how much money are you willing to pay for a guy who's poured his passion into a language design, into a watch to give you something that is different for our day and age? So for sure, man, like I think you hit it on the head. And I got to back him when it comes to that. I think it's all perspective. And I think it's a little ignorant to just shoot down somebody because of X, Y, and Z. There's so much more that goes to it, especially when we talk about web-based brands.
Okay, man. Man, I'm talking about. I appreciate all the comments. They firing off in the comment section, bro.
I
Oh
know it's
my
hard to
god.
keep up, man.
Oh my gosh, bro. They are firing off in the comment section, man. I hate watch snobs. I've been really happy with Michael Brands, not trash. That's why I mentioned Chase Dura. I have Shoulder Vellies, Detomaso. I hope I pronounced that right. There always there'll always be watch snobs, of course. Just tune in, and I'm actually wearing a Nomadic. Hey,
There you
where's
go.
my Nomadic? There we go, bro. You know what I'm saying?
They're teams. They're sports
Hey,
teams, baby. They're sports
hey,
teams.
bro. Hey, Ramon. Later, all right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Steel is steel, precious metals, which are wearable art, but not truly usable except for risk exhibition and investments. Unworn by watches are truly not an investment. Frankie, thank you
Mm.
so much for putting that. Everyone remembers me. Yes, I do. I am a proud collector of 21 micro brands.
Nice,
Bravo.
nice, Howard.
Bravo. That is supporting
He got more than me.
because, hey, so think about it. Technically speaking, every watch company in history started off as a micro brand or independent, if you
I mean, hello,
will. So,
hello.
Grand
That
Seiko Quartz hits 2000. Grand Seiko, yeah. Another court, and let's not sleep on Quartz because the Quartz crisis. Think about this: Seiko gets so much credit for, and Citizen gets so much credit for their Quartz pieces. Man, put out some phenomenal Quartz pieces. Are like a pick it up and forget about it type of watch,
oh
right?
yeah.
And you mentioned, I just want to allude to this. You mentioned that man sat and drew that thing out. Let me see who did that. Was it Gerald Genta? I think it was. Gerald Genta was across the street in Geneva from an event. He had 5 minutes. He drew the Patek Nautilus in 5 freaking minutes. And
Hmm.
that has become one of the most legendary watches outside of anything else in the world, bro. Like
Right.
crazy. Think about it, because they was using precious metals at that point in time. And
Hmm.
now he makes a stainless steel watch that's fetching more money than a solid gold watch.
Right.
Imagine that. And here's the deal. I can guarantee you this. All it takes, and I'm gonna use Brew. All
Hmm.
it takes is one place advertised, or one place like somebody's really popular, or something that has been signified in American history or world history, and they got on a Brew metric, and then they sit down with him and talk to him, and now this is a Netflix special and all this other stuff, and guess what? All those people that said, "Oh, I can't deal with this is micro," but like everybody's talking about it, and this watch, it's become, and it, you already know, it could be in a movie.
Oh yeah.
Imagine, I know that they have been talking about back and forth with James Bond and stuff like that. They don't know when the next
Hmm.
Bond movie is gonna come out, if it ever comes out. But could you imagine in the Bond movie, his enemy, whoever's coming out to kill Bond is wearing a Brumetric, and it puts Bond in a very dangerous situation to where there has to be a part two to that movie. And the last
Right.
thing you see is him rubbing his hands together as Bond is about to be lasered to death, and he has on a Brumetric. Guess what's going
Right.
to sell out?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And all those
Yep.
people that said,
100%.
"Oh, Brew is this trash," it's not Brew is trash, but microbrands are trash. I'm like, dude, one, stop it with the off the shelf movement. Okay, we already know that in-house movement comes with in-house prices.
Right.
Everybody's not in the top 6%. Some of us have to be like, there are people that are making under $50,000 in this. And then keep in mind, after May, those that own student loans, uh, he's coming for you. He's garnishing wages. Okay, he's taking
Hmm.
taxes. All that stuff is,
Hmm.
so now your 50 or $40,000, you got to pay that money back. And now, guess what? You can only afford $15, and the only thing I know that's $15 is on Amazon, and it's called the Casio. Okay, so
Correct. Yeah.
so if,
Nah, and
there you go.
and that's all exactly. That's all super relative, dude. And it's just, look, we're just introducing perspective, if you will, right? That's we're not trying to, we don't want the smoke, but look, what you said is true. Idris Elba was spotted wearing this, right? Doesn't promote it, doesn't say nothing, just had it on his wrist, and it really was, the brew metric was what catapulted brew itself, right? And a couple of people were
Mhm.
spotted with it, but that one I think people know the most. And yeah,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
that's all it takes. And all we're trying to say is that these brands, these micro brands right now, they're just trying to get on the map. They're hustling. They all have a story. I actually
Yep.
did a long back history of Brew and Jonathan himself. Um, we're going to dig into that really deep later on, but once you start unraveling that, once you start peeling back those layers, it's amazing
Mhm.
how they're also making it in this market with all the competition there is. And you brought up a point about on the shelf, and it's like, understand this, right? When you say, "Ah, they got an on the shelf movement," it's like, all right, well, where do you expect them to go, right? Because people who make their own movements, they're not sharing. Number one, they're not
Nope.
subcontracting their movements. That's not happening because there's a prestige to that, and I respect that. So it's like, if not that availability to something that, by the way, is super reliable, now they're also giving us something that we haven't seen and is represented in a different way and gives us those flavors and allows them to be able to mass produce or make these watches from that. So let's not make that a dirty word. The goal is obviously to do a little tweaks like Christopher Ward. We're tying it all together. Like Christopher Ward, do little tweaks and then eventually get to that. But dude, we've talked about this many times. You know how much it costs just to come out with something for yourself that's not like an on the shelf case? Like, we're talking about $100,000 as a buy-in. Now, when you talk about, oh, I'm gonna make my own movement, sheesh, what are you talking about? Like $500,000 with machines and everything
Bro,
else? Come on, man. Come on.
so keep this in mind. Remember, before, and I want to say this before my next comment. I want to thank everybody that has been sending all of the thank yous, all of the praise, and just like from what happened to my son, right? Like, I appreciate you guys so much for what you guys sent. But y'all know before my son passed away, I had talked to Kokomo Watch Company, and we sat down. I had a bunch of. I sat down with my renderings, y'all. It took me
Mm.
like a few weeks to like. I came up with like several ideas, right? Skylar, I sent some of my drawing renderings to you,
I was just gonna say
right?
that you sent me the sketches, bro. Go ahead, go ahead.
So I went through the movement. I went through the case design. I went through everything, right? And just to get face to get an NX38 or NX35, I would have to come with over $25,000 out of my pocket. I had to come up with 25,000 just for just a minute amount, just a small amount. But then talking about going to Swiss movements, right? And having this finishing and have it done up the way I really wanted it to give to you
Mm.
guys. Now we're in the 50 to $60,000 range. I'm telling you, I
Right.
sat down, we crushed the numbers, bro. Like I was like, so I'm like, dude, I
Hmm.
have to mortgage my house for this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was thinking about it, man. It is such a sacrifice. And I'm gonna tell you this. When my son passed, it's like my dream of doing this is not gone. However, that took a lot out of what I want to do, creativity wise. And you know what's funny thing is, me and him, my son actually talked about this 2 years ago. He
Mm.
said, as much as you talk about Invicta, you ever thought about making your own watch? And we talked about like what it would look like. And I asked him, I said, what type of watch would you like to wear? I asked him because he's not a watch collector, but he in
Mm.
some of those designs that I got in there, bro, was inspired by him. So
Okay.
I would at least want to, once this whole tariff thing blows over, start, you know what I'm saying? Just if nothing but one run of watches, I want to dedicate it to him. But like, yeah, man, that's expensive. And that's the other thing when people say micro brands are trash. You know how much money it costs to get this stuff done? Are
Hmm.
you serious? Are you
Yeah.
serious? I'm like, man, dude, bruh, I would
No.
literally, I mean, I could sell my house today and get the money and live in my suburban.
That'd be a good story, man. You have
You know
some
what I'm
people
saying?
back you up, but that's the reality of it, dude. And I've been involved from the beginning. I've been blessed to be involved with a lot of people who start up. Some of them went totally off the shelf. Some of them did a little bit of a tweak, right? And then I've talked to people who gave us something brand new out of the gate. And it really was the same conversation. Even when it was on the shelf, I asked, and I don't want to put the name out there, but I asked the person, "What's your cost per unit? Like, what's the dude?" It was it was way more money than I thought because you got to realize, even with on the shelf, if you're not buying 10,000 units, bro, and 10,000 units of every part, you see what I'm saying?
Yep, yep,
Then you're not
yep.
getting a good deal. And it is a struggle and it is expensive. So please mind the cost that I have before you on this table, but realize that I'm a passionate person just trying to show you my heart and put it into the watch and try to do
Hmm.
my own thing. And I respect that, bro. That's why I got to know the story. I got to know the people. I got to see how they presented themselves. I got to see how they connect to the community. That's how I buy watches now. I buy your story before I buy your watch. And I employ anybody looking at micro brands. That's the way you really got to look at it, man. Stop looking for what's the value that I get and what's the history and all this other stuff. It's a different animal when you're looking at a micro
Oof.
brand. And the more you dig deep into it, it's going to latch onto you. And it's not just because Bruce out of New York that I've latched on. I met him at a pop up shop. We had a one on one conversation for 45 minutes. Dude, the guy Jonathan treated me like I was a relative. Okay. And yes, he's
Mm.
there to sell watches, but at the same time, especially in New York, we could pick up when you're just trying to sell us and when you just really care. And I'll go a little bit further before I pass it over to you.
Mm.
My wife wanted to get this watch for my birthday, as she did. I said, cool. I said, we're gonna put it on my card. I'm gonna put the order on my email. I didn't email Jonathan nothing. I bought the brew. I didn't say a word. I didn't say, hey, I'm excited. I'm finally buying your watch. None of that. When I tell you I placed the order, it came to me and it came with a handwritten note. Welcome as part of the welcome to part of the team. Thank you so much, Skylar, for all your support. And he gave me a couple things that signified that he remembered me. Man, there's so much value
Oh,
to actually be treated like a
oh,
person and be remembered. Now go ahead and
bro,
buy from the big brands and see if they're gonna remember your first name. Go ahead. I'll wait.
bro,
I'll wait.
bro. Listen, this is what made again, man. And yeah, I'm going to sing the praises about a micro brand. an independent brand just as much as like you do have to give acknowledgement to the brands that came before it. But
for sure.
in a way, I'm not. You can't take anything away from them because they
Mm-mm.
exist, right? But you would never satisfy people because I've seen people talk about Brigade. Brigade's one of the oldest companies, but I've seen number of YouTubers talk about Brigade's falling off. Nobody cares about the design language. I heard people talk about Chopard. Chopard, you have to dig through so much of the garbage watches, all the crazy designs, just to get to something nice and ideal. And it's like you'll never satisfy people, but like
Mm-hmm.
that right there, when I go to a table, whether it be in Chicago, Texas, wherever I travel, and I walk in and I see Peter. I met Peter's wife from Nomadic, and they greet me, yo, Trap, and like they greet me, bro.
Yeah.
Like that is like one of the craziest things. He'll come from behind the booth, we dap up, man, and that was the first thing when I went to this past one in Chicago. People that know me, you know what I'm saying, like Adam from Farr And Swit, man, bro. Sorry to hear about your son, man. Everybody's showing love.
Mm.
They pay attention, bro. These people are watching. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And Adam from Flederman, you know what I'm saying? Like this dude texted and called me like, yo, bro, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? How's the family? All this other stuff. That stuff is personal. You will not get that from the big brands. However, some of the big brands will acknowledge the fact that if you have a YouTube channel that has a decent amount of numbers, they'll send you a watch because it's all promotion. And let's keep it 100. Yeah, they're in business to make money. We can't take that
Of
off the
course.
table. Yeah, that's on there.
Right.
But like, you have to respect though somebody that is starting at a level, and then keep this in mind: if they have 100 pieces that they put out of a watch, you got to think about they still have to have a warranty to back up the pieces that fail. They have to have stuff that's, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't want to keep you waiting for a repair and stuff like that. Bro, it's so much. And like for me, I got Kokomo. I could be like, and if I do start this company, which, Lord willing, I'll start the watch company, or at least just have a brand for you guys to enjoy. um I have to depend on Kokomo to repair my watch if it fails within the 2 years, you know what I'm saying? And I would love to offer a 5-year warranty, but again, I'm buying an off the shelf movement that could very well fail. And seeing that I love watches and I love community, I want you to get the best. And you never know the intentions of these watchmakers. You don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much, like how many shoot was it Jason, bro, like I've met so many people in these watch communities, man. Jason from Zanea, that
Mm-hmm.
dude he's an enthusiast. He's passionate about watches, man. And
Oh
just
yeah.
sitting and talking to him, like we weren't even talking about watches. We sitting down eating and drinking together, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
just talking, like we're just talking about life,
Right.
right? And then what their thought process is and what they want to do, man. And bro, like it's a different atmosphere. It's a different vibe, man. It actually makes you fall in love with the idea of their brand, though. To be honest,
Oh
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, 'cause I now here's the deal. I feel pressure, not pressured, but somebody's up there with a brew watch on their wrist. I don't have a brew in my collection. I'm like, man, I got to get a brew now, man. It's about to live rent free in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You
And
know
the
what I
and
mean?
the and the cat, well, Zanea, he's up in Vancouver right now, if I'm not mistaken, right? They
Yeah.
got a show
Yep.
going on up there. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No, that guy loves watches, man. That guy loves watches. And I'll go back to what you said about you said the on the shelf and you like to. Here's the deal, Trap. Like, if you did a 5-year warranty on a Seiko NH35, let's say, it's like, dude, if that movement's gonna fail, it's gonna fail in the beginning. Once it goes out and it's running, that thing just keeps going. It just wants to go, go, go. It's gonna give you 15 years before you really probably have to do a service where it's like
Yeah.
noticeably crazy different. And then it's very easy for you to manipulate and get that timing right. So it's a
Oh yeah.
phenomenal movement no matter what. And it's almost like a gimmick. If you give an NH35 or Miyota a 5-year warranty, bro, it's really like it's gonna last the 5 years for sure if it don't fail in the first 2 weeks. So I mean, I just the perspective on things is crazy, man, and it's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. Let's okay. Let me get some of these comments. And we gonna
Yeah,
land
yeah,
this
get the
bird.
chat.
We gonna land this bird, man. Steel is steel. Hold up, I think I read that earlier. Precious metal watches are wearable, are by no truly usable except for. Okay, yeah, I read that earlier. I'm proud of my collection, Tori. Okay, There's Italian micro brand, which yeah, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to check that out because I don't know anything about that brand. Majority of my collections are micro brand independence. The drawback of gatekeeping is that you have to stay close to the gate and never get a chance to learn about other brands. I like that. I like that. Oh, that is cold blooded, bro. Oh, hold up. I want to pin that. I like that. Citizen dominates the course level industry for me. I agree with you because I have a number of citizens. I love citizen watches. Double wristed Jack Mason and Loom Sand and Rolex date just 41. Okay. Julius Caesar comes in with the win. I like your double wrist. I have more luxury, but I have a good number of micros. Micros that I wear get more compliments. Bro, I think they pay attention to like people's lifestyle. People love aesthetics, man. I saw like when you were talking about your Mark Well piece,
Hmm.
and you broke it down to like, yeah, the dial is going to get you, but it's the overall, man. You're looking at the case, then you're looking at, the hands, the bracelet. There's just certain watches that, and let me put my Zelos up on the screen. Bro, it's certain watches that just gets you, man. When I saw this, when I opened up the box and I looked at it, it was like, you know what I mean? I said, yo, this
Especially
thing
when you
is
knew
nuts.
how fast it was gonna sell out, man. I saw you on top of it. It was like a sneaker release. you,
Bro,
you were panicking when it wasn't going through because you knew that was gonna sell out, bro. And that makes it even more
man.
special, for sure.
Yeah, man. Genta drew the Royal Oak first and modified the design to the Patek knowledge. Yes, yeah. So one was in '69, the other was in '72. Let's see. I kind of agree, Frankie. Okay, unless you're really wealthy, go to Watches and Wonders. They'll knock the snobbery out of you. Rolex is like Walmart there. Wow. Okay. 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 They talking about that one brand. And again, we talking off the shelf movements, man. Let's just say this. You call Salida and Etta 28, 24s, anything Etta, anything automatic that Swiss made off the shelf. I'd like to see you duplicate it. I'd like to see you create one yourself. I'm just saying
Right, right.
they've been
You better
holding us
bring
down up to this point. So
you better bring two suitcases full of money, man. If you go and try, I'm telling you, bro. It might
hey,
even be more than half a mil, bro. It might even be more if you when you factor in the machinery, the watchmaker's time, and everything else, dude. You talk about off the shelf. They should do something else. I'm like, how?
right,
Not in the U.S. First of
right.
all. So it's tough, man. It's tough. That's why I like to just show love to all the things, no matter how you collect. And a couple people said that they love their luxury and they also have their micro brands. More power to you. That's something that I want to duplicate in the future. I'm not saying that I won't ever go after a big brand, right? That's going to be
Right,
infused
right.
as well. But man, am I having so much fun picking off the micro brands and learning
Yes.
their backstories and learning how they find their footing, right? Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
living through history with them, and that's
Yeah.
the nostalgia. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So, all right, before we go, let me ask you this because I just want to piggyback off what you just stated. Have you given thought to if you were to go after a major brand, what would it be? What brand do you think that you'll go after?
I'm gonna pretty much nullify everything I just said.
Ah,
I'm probably going with the Rolex, bro, and it's probably gonna be like Santana's talking on both sides of the mouth today. Sheesh. I'm going with the Rolex. I'm
weep,
going with the
weep,
Rolex, bro.
weep.
Because look, man, look. Here's where I'm at, man. It's right
Okay.
now. I'm so focused on my daytime job, my career,
Hmm.
and it is that successful watch, man. Like when you get the real bag that you've been after for so long and trying to position yourself in your career, yes, I would like for that to and it may change, but if you're forcing my hand and you're saying which brand, which big brand, it would be that, bro. And it's not just because at that point, trust me, it has nothing to do with when they see that on my wrist, they're like, oh, he did some things. It's just a matter of fact that if I'm being real and I'm going back to what I said in the beginning, I've never put down big brands. I've never put down luxury brands, and we're
Hmm.
bringing this full circle because I told you that in the movement of the Rolex, it is top gun. When you talk about the manufacturing and the service and how everything just drops in, whether you're talking about the bridge or you're talking about the wheels, the train of wheels, I mean, that's the part that I really love the most, to be honest with you. And it would be a Rolex because of that reason. How about you?
There's two actually that I would love to have, and these are watches that I've experienced, I've worn, and I was just amazed with. One is the Patek annual calendar,
Okay. Okay.
bro.
Mm,
It's
mm.
just
You going
I
for high
love information,
horology?
bro.
High
I
horology.
love information, bro.
Yeah,
Like, and the
yeah,
fact that you have to set this watch once a year, but after you set it, you know what I'm saying? Because come in February, you always have to reset. But outside of that, I was looking at the mechanics of the watch, but it man, and it's so smooth. And then like the buckle of a Patek is so special. And a Vacheron was
yeah.
in overseas. The Vacheron
Okay.
overseas, bro. I looked
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
loop
yeah,
through
yeah.
that man, and I literally cried, bro. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, bro."
Yo,
And it,
it
it
makes
it's
sense.
not about the hype of anything.
No.
I've heard so many people talk about this, whatever, but if I was given the opportunity to, and y'all know that I've said that I love the Panerai and I like the Omega Speedmaster 57. I think that those two are nice. Um, but if we're talking the opportunity to own horology timepiece, is going to either be the Vacheron or the Patek, and I think I would possibly go Vacheron because that's more of because it's sporty and more sportier than the other one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I love the design of it. I love the way I put it on my wrist. I was like, oh man, it is. That's all I can say. I don't even have words for it. It's just breath. Okay,
I get it. I get it.
the watch
And that's
is amazing, bro.
and that's what I love about these talks that we have, dude, because we just rambled on so much about how we value the web brands and what they bring to the table, but also you and I both recognize the horology and the appreciation of what the
Hmm.
luxury
Yeah,
brands bring in, right? So
almost
it's all
definitely.
full circle, bro. And there's a lot to love, different categories for a lot of reasons. And that's what makes it fun, dude. And that's what I want, dude. I want all the way from a F91W all the way up and everything in between because that's just how we appreciate timepieces in the collection altogether.
Yeah, somebody said you look like an AP guy.
I hope they're correct. I hope they're correct
Hey
one day,
man,
man. I
look,
might I might go for that. I might go for that.
JLC dual face. Yeah, okay, man. Dorn Bluth. Okay, man, bro. Like y'all throwing out some stuff, bro. Like there's a number of amazing options. Nomos. I had a chance to check out a Nomos. I like that. Those watches are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. But you know, in this episode, man, it's not to bash on that. It's actually just bringing a different perspective to it.
Yeah.
We still give credit to the big brands because they paved the way for these micro brands and independents to actually give us something. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, they're all in line with each other. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a homage. Micro brands is a homage to in horology. You just can't get away from it. I don't care how like the Metric is a different watch, but it still has like that TV design to it from the
Right.
70s. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? And still not taking nothing away from it. Great designs, great
Right.
quality, and I dig it all the way around. So
Yeah.
I just want you guys to know that there are so many options. I have posted some stuff in here. Please look through the comments. If you are new here, before you subscribe, check out some other videos and see how we talk and interact with each other. Make sure this is the channel for you. If not, go over to Skylar's channel and check him out, or people that's associated with us. You know what I'm saying? Join the thing. Um, Bittersweet, Watch Crunch, Max. Great videos, heartfelt. It was a heartfelt video. I was like, I could see the pain, bro. I was like, ooh. I was like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it was a very interesting week. I'll just say that much.
You know what I'm saying? And but you know what? I will say this. Just want to give you some flowers. Now I know what Max represented because I've watched a number of his videos. I've seen the fact that he represented Watch Crunch, and you and him are the reason why I joined Watch Crunch in the first place. But But with that being said, you are one of his support systems. You know what I'm saying? You're like one of his anchors, bro. Like, that's deep, bro. That's historical because in the years that he was there at Watch Crunch, you can't take nothing away from what he did. You can't
No.
take away what he created, man. That dude, and that's business though. How many people
Right.
take advantage of it? And I don't know all the ins and outs, but like I just know that I felt that video that he dropped. I was
Hmm.
sitting there like, man, that is business. That's crazy. I will say this: I was never put in that position to support Invicta like that. Like I was never given the opportunity. I did that on my own. However,
Hmm.
it's still a sting when you hear from through a secondary source that works with the company that well nobody listens to this guy for advice on Invicta. And I'm like, dude, I've been promoting this brand for years. I started my channel off this brand. So I can kind of feel how Max is, but Max had
Hmm.
way more invested, you know what I'm saying, and stuff in there. So to that, I sent the message already in the group, you know what I'm saying? I salute Max for what he's done. Um, After this video, I'm actually going to pin or actually he has a new well, it's the same YouTube channel. He just changed the name.
Right.
Was it Anarchist and
Anachronist. Yeah.
Anachronist. Um, that sounds like a medieval name. It's like he a character or something like that, bro. Like, yeah, that's what
Maximus
that's.
Anachronist.
Yeah, bro. Like for real. Like I said, man, it sounds legendary.
Like a
So,
Roman
you got anything
soldier.
before we get up out of here, bro?
No, man. I think we covered the bases. This was a lot of fun. Yeah. So just to land this plane, I'll say this, man. I don't know the ins and outs of what happened with Watch Crunch either, but here's the deal. Here's where I stand on it. My statement is this. I was always a big fan of Max, and I was always a big fan of Watch Crunch. And I'm not going to stop doing both, right? I'm going to support both moving forward. I wish Max nothing but success moving forward with whatever ventures that he goes for. And I'm a big supporter of Watch Crunch, as you know. And here's the deal. When I say I'm a supporter of Watch Crunch, I don't mean the button on my iPhone that I press. I mean the people behind it. So,
Yep.
a lot of people, I had stepped down from running one of the events. It just was crazy timing where I used to host a photography challenge on Watch Crunch. And I have personal things going on and I'm not no longer able to host that. Somebody already picked up the reins. But my point is this, people felt like, oh no, Santana, where's he going? Max is leaving too. I'm not going anywhere. I'm always going to be there for the community. And for me, Watch Crunch just meant the people behind it. And I've made so many
Yep.
friendships. And for me, that I'm always going to be a supporter. I'm always going to be there for you guys. And I'm always going to be tapped into that. So, I wish the best for both sides. And let's just talk about watches and continue the conversation and continue having fun. You know what I mean? Powers in the
Yep.
community.
Yep. So with that being said, this bird is on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Unbuckle your seatbelts, man. They about to come over here and let you guys exit the plane, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for supporting. We appreciate you for everything. And if you guys want to be a part of any shows in the future, man, feel free to drop in. And we're going to schedule a time. Me and this guy over here, there's a battle that's going to happen. Micro
Oh
brand
yeah,
battle. You know what I'm saying? Micro brand battle. You know what I'm saying? He
we got
challenged
to do it.
me, so I gotta rise to the occasion. It's gonna be fun. I'm going to love it. I actually have somebody that's making a soundtrack for us, bro, to come in on. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I'm taking this thing so serious. I told you, this is my passion, my love.
I feel like I
Ah,
woke up the beast, bro, because you called me
bro,
after that live where I called you out, and Travis went, "Man, you pointed your whole finger at me."
it was like this. Because you
I
came
love
back
it,
like you
man.
was like, oh, and it came through the
I,
screen. It was like, yeah. I was like, okay, all right,
but it's gonna be a
all
lot of
right.
fun, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. So thank you guys for watching, man. And into the next lightning strike, man. Y'all be blessed.